Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. I'm Lauren Bolander with Captain Rick Murphy as usual, and tonight it's all about red snapper around here. But first, Rick, actually before we get started, I have to congratulate you again. You cleaned up at another tournament 2 weekends in a row. Tell us about it.
Jeffrey and I, I had to fish against Jeffrey. I fished with Jason Ramsey, and we actually came in first place. Jeffrey came in fifth. Big showing for the Jaeger team, though. We had 4 guys dressed in their jerseys. Awesome.
Nice. And Jeffrey didn't tell me that he let you win at all, so don't worry. Don't worry about it. And, of course, we have Dave Farrell back there making our Jägermeister workbench look good.
Yep.
Hi, David.
I'm not as lucky as Rick. I didn't win any tournaments this weekend. Just went to work.
Just went to work. Shoot. All right, let's talk red snapper.
Well, you know, red snapper, obviously, every week we send in the photos, and here's our winners from this week. And I got to tell you, Lauren, we have Larry Stouffer from Winter Springs. This is a nice big snapper that he caught from Port Canaveral. And then next up, we have a pair of snappers. Jay Spalding out of Sanford and Kevin Hines caught a nice pair of big red snappers. And last but not least, Ken Griffin out of Miami caught a couple big gorillas there. And I'm going to tell you, this red snapper is going to be great to eat, but we got to get to our first region.
Well, let's do that then. We're going to go to the Yeti Northwest region. That's where Captain Jeff Hageman is. Jeff, you have plenty of red snapper to tell us about.
We do. We've got them throughout my whole region, from 70 feet of water on out. High relief structure is a must when it comes to snapper fishing. And we've got a pipeline that runs right out of Tampa Bay all the way up to Louisiana. And there's junction boxes along that pipeline, and they're big concrete boxes. And there's a great place to look for them at. But you can also find them on reefs and wrecks and ledges. Anything that's got any kind of high relief on it. And when you use a knocker rig or a standard bottom rig with fluorocarbon is a must. 30 to 50 pound fluorocarbon leader. Suffix is great stuff. I use it all the time. You want something that got really good vision, so you want something they can't see. Small fin fish or cut sardine for bait. 3/0 to 7/0 circle hook, and just enough lead to get to the bottom. When you're using a knocker rig, you're going to put the lead right on the hook and let it slide down. Big thing when you're out there looking for them, when you're covered in these structures, you want to look at your bottom machine. Most of the fish are going to be raised up real high, and that's either going to be amberjack or it's going to be red snapper.
All right, well, let's stay offshore, bub. What you got?
I got gag and red grouper bite right now throughout my region. It's been really great. Everywhere I'm getting great reports from the very top of my region down to the bottom, over flat rocks, Swiss cheese bottom, ledges, rock piles. They're all holding fish anywhere from 60 to 120 feet of water. Heavy tackle's a must. Get the big fish right now out of the rocks. Cut and live sardines are working good. Thin fish, thread fins, all on a standard bottom rig, 50 to 80 pound suffix, mainline, and then 100 to 125 fluorocarbon leader with a 6.0 to 8.0 BMC circle hook will do the trick. And you really want to use that heavy gear because there's a lot of big fish out there right now. And speaking of big fish, and plenty of them, our redfish bite throughout my entire region. I've never seen it like this. There's schools of redfish up in Tampa Bay, all the way in the northern part of the bay, all the way out to the lower part of Tampa Bay, wrapping around St. Pete, Clearwater, Tarpon Springs, Crystal River, Hudson, all the way up. Has been schools of redfish and lots of them. They're eating really good. They're eating on both sides, either the top of the low, the top of the high, or the bottom of the low when the fish are moving right now. Fish are really chasing baits, so you want something you can throw in front of them, and the schools are moving through pretty quick. Fire a bait in there, and you'll get hooked up. Jerk bait's working real good, new penny and white, and the Bass Assassin has been a really good bait. And also spoons have been working also very good, as long as cut bait and live bait. Also inshore, Captain Pat McGriff of One More Cast Charters out of Keaton Beach reports a really good trout bite right now, and anywhere from 2 to 6 feet of water over the grass flats. Jigs under Cajun Thunders or small fish under a foot are working really good. And right now, with the water being warm, you want to change up your retrieve a little bit. Slow it down, speed it up, kind of figure out what the fish are wanting. It seems to be a little bit of a mix. First thing in the morning, they want it a little faster. As that sun heats the water up in the afternoon, they've been liking it a little slower. But change up your retrieve and you'll catch some more fish.
All right, great report, Jeff. Way to start us off. We're going to go ahead and get to the Drummond Community Bank hotspots from the Northwest region. Inshore, redfish throughout the region in great numbers and eating good on both tides. And then offshore, sharks on the artificial reefs and wrecks in 70-plus foot of water. And don't forget the wire, Lauren.
Jeff bringing it to kick off the show, right?
That.
Yeah.
He's awake tonight.
Now off we go to check in with Captain Ron Houston in the Southwest. Ronnie, there's another red snapper season opening up soon. What can you tell us about it?
Well, you know, Captain Mike Avanon out of Naples tells me realistically, these fish can be all year round, but obviously we have seasons, and the season usually begins June into July. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. There will be another season opening October 1st through the 14th. For more information on finding out the information on this, you want to look up the website of the Gulf Council, or like always, myfwc.com can always give you the updates. But to find these fish, you want to start in depths of about 110 feet, and you can work all the way out to 250 feet. That'll work. Concentrate on ledges, real hard bottom. Realistically, wrecks really don't hold these fish in my part of the region. But once you get out past 150, you want to start looking for big patches of rocks. And basically, baits include squid, live baits, bucktails, and butterfly jigs once you find them. Typical size can be 7 to 12 pounds. Fish up to 20 pounds are caught. And I have a picture of a gentleman who fished with Mike Avanon, Steve Girth. Those are some of the normal-sized red snappers we have in the region, generally in the opening of seasons. As we go further to the north and back down to the south, like Jeff was saying, the red grouper bite all through the region has still been phenomenal. Right now, you can start at depths right now of anywhere from 25 to 60 feet. You want to concentrate on hard bottom and ledges. Now, at the shallower depths, you can use artificials such as lip plugs or bucktails. But in the deeper depths, you can use squid. Drift until you find these fish. Once you find them, anchor up and use cut baits, squid, or sardines. And like Jeff was saying, over here, sardines have been the best. Also, you can use live pit fish. No problem getting a limit once you get out there and have some moderate weather. Now, on the inshore scene, trout bite all through most of my region has been good all year round, but there's still plenty of good fish down in the Everglades region from Little Pavilion to Plover Key. Now, with this full moon, you want to concentrate on the early morning low, concentrating on grass flats, edges, and troughs, using a variety of baits that I've been playing with, especially the new Bass Assassin, 4-inch sea shads, or noise-making corks on quarter-ounce jig heads. Two new colors I've been trying that have been working real well are the electric shad or hammer time and color. Also, topwater walk-the-dog lures in bone, red and white, chartreuse, and olive color really work. Guys, there's really no need to be using live shrimp. Artificials have been working great once you locate them. And I have a picture here. I have a picture of an event of Take a Soldier Fishing from last week where we got the 100 soldiers taken out, Staff Sergeant Michael Perry and Senior Airman Hector Menendez. It's about getting these guys out, showing them a good time, and giving them what they truly deserve. Also, the redfish. A little further to the north of the region, concentrate right now for schools of redfish in Estero Bay, anywhere from Halpeckney to Hickory Pass. Concentrate on fishing low water on the flats and edges, heavy concentrations of mullet or pinfish using topwater plugs or a variety of 4 to 5 inch soft plastics, especially the Bass Assassin, like Jeff said, the new penny, golden brim, or a molting in color. As the tide gets higher, mangrove shorelines using cut baits, live pinfish, also skipping soft plastics under the bushes, and gold spoons. And as I close, Farrell, don't worry about Murphy. You're a winner in my book every day.
All right, good job, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and get to the hot spots from the Southwest region. Captain Ron says inshore, snook, full moon bite, Goodland to Gordon's from midnight until dawn fishing the docks. Use lip plugs and soft plastic shrimp. And then offshore, Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass, scattered cobia fishing wrecks and 6 to 20 miles out while fishing for mangrove snappers, Lauren.
I tell you, anytime Captain Ron says you're going to play with noise-making corks, you're in for a good time. Absolutely. Right. You guys stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to head to the Panhandle, and we're going to hear from Dave at the workbench. Stick around.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Lottery, Yeti Coolers, wildly stronger, keep ice longer, best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply, Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company, Chevy, the IGFA, conservation through education, get your hands wet, and Olukai.
20 years straight, get to work on time. He's in love one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
It's 200 streamlined horsepower of Yamaha forward thinking. The all-new F200 inline 4-stroke. Whether you're an offshore angler, pontoon cruiser, bay boater, or walleye hunter, the responsive and fuel-efficient F200 combines amazing power and versatility in one incredibly compact and lightweight package. The all-new F200. Legendary Yamaha reliability and the freedom of forward thinking.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector's Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
When the Spanish explorers discovered Islamorada, they called it Purple Isles. Today, they'd discover such a rich palette of diversions and delicacies, they'd definitely be at a loss for words. Islamorada in the Florida Keys.
Now it's time for your news and notes from the FWC. September 21st is Barnett Park's 15th annual Fish for the Fun of It at Barnett Park Frog Pond in Orlando. And September 28th is Turkey Lake's 14th annual Public Lands Day at Bill Frederick Park in Orlando. You can always find more information at myfwc.com. Right now it's time for Off the Deep End.
Off the deep end here at the Jägermeister Workbench,
very,
Farrell.
very
and
fragrant one this time.
Certainly going off the deep end for red snappers is something you got to do in most cases.
Yep.
Tell me.
You know, I grew up here in Florida, so, you know, one of the first fish I ever ate was red snapper. My grandfather used to come over to Cape Canaveral and go out on the Miss Cape Canaveral and go red snapper fishing. And, you know, he'd bring home a bunch of 20-pound red snappers. You know, he didn't seem like he caught or kept any fish that were under that size. So back in the day, we could catch a lot of great big red snappers. And over the years, in the 70s and 80s, you know, the Loran came out and the GPSs came out, and the guys were able to get out there and start hammering these bottom spots. And we, you know, the red snapper fishery kind of fell off to what I call a not a very good norm, you know, a kind of a sorry fishery. But we got used to it, and you know, now they've shut them down a little bit, and I'm hearing a lot of guys, oh, there's more out there than ever before, and they're right, because that's working, and now we're starting to get big ones. And the reason we need to get the bigger ones is because one 24-inch red snapper, a female 24-inch red snapper, puts out as much eggs as 212 17-inch snappers.
Wow.
So one big snapper puts out so much more eggs. So you got to have those big ones. And when we keep keeping the big ones all the time, then they start to shrink, and the population shrinks and the size of the fish shrinks. But when we're going to go out catching them, probably the best thing to use to catch a red snapper is a chicken rig, and that's what this is. It's a multiple hook gang style deal with multiple hooks on it. The commercial guys use these 10, 12, 20 gangs on, you know, all kinds of hooks.
It's like a
down.
giant sabiki rig.
Correct.
Heavy duty
Exactly
sabiki
what
rig.
it is. And this one's made out of 60-pound fluorocarbon, which is a pretty good size for red snapper. You can go up to 80-pound if you're catching some really big fish in some rocky areas. You're usually going to find red snapper on hard bottom around reefs, you know, or just regular hard bottom in water 100 to 200, 250 feet deep. So you're going to need some pretty strong leader material. Their teeth aren't, you know, they're pretty sharp. I wouldn't stick my finger in them, but they're not going to cut you off. You can still get away with using mono. Now, the bait you're going to use, this is a bait rig, obviously, is squid, You know, I like to use a thing called the surf and turf when I'm going, and I'll put a squid on one hook. You know, and these
now,
are.
How do you hook that, Dave, so that they don't chew it off?
Well,
so fast.
I like to. This eyeball area has a lot of gristle and muscle around it, so I like to put it through the eyeballs area and then back through the mantle. And here's another thing: when you're using circle hooks, try not to ball all the bait up on the circle hook. A lot of guys will put all so that try to hide the hook, kinda. Well, a circle hook doesn't work that great when there's a whole bunch of stuff in between it and the jaw of the fish. When a snapper grabs it, he'll run off sometimes, and when he runs away, he'll run at such a speed that if you've got it locked down, you'll pull that circle hook right out because it'll have a big ball of the squid or one of these, you know, a nice big sardine. Use a half a sardine on one side and a squid on the other.
No, not my bench.
It's
Dave.
It's a good bench, man. That's what benches are for, right?
Oh,
and put one right through the eyeballs up here. That way your hook is out away from the bait a little bit. And it doesn't matter so much with a J hook because you're wanting them to swallow it, and you can go ahead and set the hook when they swallow it. But when you're using a circle hook, it's better to let the fish run away with it a little bit and then come tight slowly. And even when you're bottom fishing, and what you do is that thing will hit right in the corner of their jaw.
All right, any secrets? Listen, you got 45 seconds, 30 seconds to tell me any specific secrets.
If you're not catching them on the dead bait, use a live bait. Just catch a live bait right where you're at, and always look when you're looking on your sounder. If you can see the cone, snappers will be in like a triangular cone above the structure, and usually off to the down current side. But also, if you don't catch anything with a live bait, use a jig. All the little jigs work really good on them too.
Good job.
There's a bunch of them down there now.
Yeah,
so
it's awesome.
You can go out there and hammer them pretty good, but only keep 2.
All right, speaking of the hammer, Lauren, that's as much as we know about red snappers, so where are we going from here?
We're going to head now to the Florida Panhandle with Captain Pat Deneen. Captain Pat, talk to us about red snapper in your area.
Hey, Lauren, how are we doing tonight?
Very great. How are the red snapper?
They're good. In fact, we've only got another week or so till they open them up for a few more weeks in October, and everybody up here is pretty excited about that. They've been very plentiful. The anglers are targeting groupers in 80 to 200 feet of water, but they've been catching and releasing big, healthy snappers while they're fishing for those groupers. We find them in the Gulf on natural and artificial structure, 60 to 250 foot of water, although there are some being caught in even deeper water, which is kind of uncommon. There's a good population of red snappers in Pensacola Bay as well. Fish up to 15 pounds, so you really don't have to go outside into the Gulf to catch them up here. The most common method is to slip sinker fish them with 4 to 6 feet of a 40 to 50 pound leader and a circle hook baited with a live cigar minnow, a herring, or another small bait fish. But a very effective alternative is if you have a smaller boat with an iPilot trolling motor on the bow. Use that lock-on anchor function on that iPilot. It's going to hold you right dead on top of that structure and chum them to the surface with chunk baits. And once you get them up in the surface, you can free line a hook bait to them. The biggest fish really seem to respond well to that chumming technique. And once you get them up in the water, you can kind of ease off of the structure and then hook the fish, and you don't have to worry so much about them running straight back down into the wreck. And the snappers up here are running 66 to 20 plus pounds. And there's a photo of a nice red snapper we caught this summer by doing that chunking technique on some of the near shore natural bottom.
Hey, Pat, you talked about the blue water stuff being on fire. Still going, or what's happening
Rick,
there?
this past week, the offshore scene was absolutely unbelievable. The weather was really calm, slick calm, in fact. The day trips were doing really well as the overnight trips. The overnight trips were catching some swordfish, and the day trips were catching tons of wahoos, dolphins, and some blue marlins. There was the weed lines near the squiggles, north and west of the spur, and also out into the dumping grounds. All those places had fish on them. The close rigs, the Patronus, the marlin, the ram powell, all had lots of blackfin tunas, some yellowfin tunas, and some billfish. Basically, if you find the bait, you're going to find the fish, whether it's a weed line, a grass patch, a whale shark, or a rig. Seas are supposed to pick up this weekend coming, but hopefully they're going to lay back down next week, and things are really shaping up for a great fall blue water season.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Inshore, Rick, the pilchards have moved into the bay system. I spoke with Captain Terry McGowan in Panama City. And he's been taking those filters and he's been fishing for redfish, speckled trout, and catching some really nice ones around Spotty Grass Bottom and also around some of the residential docks. Captain Jeff Elder and Destin, he's been also taking those pilchards and also croakers and catching some great trout. Depending on the depth and current, Jeff has either been fishing the bait suspended under a cork or with a small slip sinker, or as small a slip sinker as he can get away with. Most of the fish you're catching on live baits are keepers in the 18 to 19-inch range, with a lot of them being over the 20-inch limit. So basically they're culling out fish over 20 inches. The lure fishermen are catching primarily over the grass, casting head and spooks in a trout pattern, maridines, or lightly weighted or unweighted soft plastics. And then also inshore, it's redfish season for sure. And this time of year, you can not only catch, but you can target redfish of all sizes. There's big bull redfish in the passes and along the beaches. Nice schools of fish are in the gully right off the beach, particularly in the eastern parts of our region where the beaches are in the lee from these east winds we've been having. You can catch them on live bait, skitter walks, and jigs. The Destin Pass has been red hot with top of the slot or over slot fish, particularly on that falling tide using live croakers, spot minnows, and pinfish. And then the under slot fish and the slot reds are being caught by lure fishermen casting spoons, spinner baits, and topwater baits over the shallow grass in the upper bay systems and also on the shallow oyster bars in Apalachicola Bay. I spoke with Captain Sean Chalker in Indian Pass, and he said just about every oyster bar they found in 4 to 12 inches of water had some redfish on them and some trout. It's a really good time of the year to be targeting those redfish.
All right, great report, Pat. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and get to the blue water outriggers hotspots from the Panhandle region inshore. Shell Island, Gulfront beaches for all the ladyfish, bluefish, Spanish mackerels you want. A few redfish too. Use bucktails, spoons, soft plastics, or topwater baits. And then offshore, if the seas permit, target big amberjacks on the wrecks in 180 to 250 feet of water with large live baits.
Okay, Rick, when we return, we're going to check in with the Central West and the Florida Keys, and we're going to have a visitor in the studio from the Florida Lottery. Stick around, guys.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Guy Harvey Clothing by AFTCO. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers. Everything for your outdoor adventures. Croakies, made in the USA. Drummond Community Bank. Costa, see what's out there. And Lumber Rock.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a fob and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
At highway speeds, things can get pretty windy. That's why the Chevrolet Cruze Eco has active aero grille shutters that close at higher speeds to improve aerodynamics. With an EPA estimated 42 miles per gallon highway, the Chevrolet Cruze Eco offers the best highway fuel economy of any gas engine in America. Always thinking of ways to give you more while using less. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
What is CCA? CCA has been representing recreational fishermen for over 25 years, and when your rights to fish are threatened, the CCA is there to make sure government regulators are making sound decisions. I'm a life member of CCA, and when fishery decisions are being made, the CCA in the room is fighting for our recreational rights. We need to give our kids the same opportunities to fish as we did. Do what I did. Go to ccaflorida.org and join for only $25 so you can protect your recreational angling rights.
Continuing the revolution. Faster, drier, even better built. Designed around Yamaha's latest technology outboards. Still built by the same craftsmen and anglers who launched the Bay Boat Revolution. Whether chasing world records, or time on the water with the family, or anything in between, there's a new Pathfinder model for you. Pathfinder, #1 for a reason, still.
Welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. As promised, we have a special guest in the studio. This is George Alfonso from the Florida Lottery. Welcome, George.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, it is our pleasure. So the Guy Harvey ticket is kind of winding down. How have the sales been, and maybe more importantly, are there any top prizes left?
Well, sales have been awesome. Since May 28th, there's over almost $20 million in sales for the Guy Harvey ticket, and we still have 3 top prizes remaining of $50,000.
Very nice.
Now, George, let me ask you this. How has the Guy Harvey Foundation and the lottery benefited from the sale of the ticket?
Well, through licensing royalties, the Guy Harvey Foundation is able to continue its education of the youth of Florida of marine conservation. And through programs such as the Florida Fishing Academy, the International Game Fish Association, Marine Land, and of course the Guy Harvey Scholarship, just to name a few.
Now, you guys have just introduced, and as you always are introducing new games. Tell us about the 100 times the cash ticket.
I'm really excited about this game. It's our second $25 ticket, and it follows the success of the Millionaire game that we launched last year. Now, this game, this 100 times the cash, has a top prize of $5 million. And not only that, but it also has 36 $1 million prizes as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. The game that has the best odds to win $1 million or more out of any current lottery game available.
Now, this is a lot of cash we're giving away here.
Man, it sounds like there's gonna be some lottery tickets in our future.
I think there might be.
I'll buy you one. You buy me one.
Okay, and if yours wins, that was mine. So, okay. All right. No, George, really, where can we buy them since we're ready to run out and get them?
You can purchase these tickets at any of our over 13,000 retailers throughout the state of Florida.
All right, so just about anywhere. Make sure you guys keep your eyes open. We'll find them all over the state.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you very, very much. We needed that information. Go out and get my ticket already, would you?
I'm ready.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead now to Captain Jeff Page. Jeffrey, you have some great news about red snapper in the Central West.
Yeah, I do, but real quick, Rick Murphy don't need no lottery ticket. And then to win so many redfish tournaments.
That's right. I heard you let him win, though, this weekend, so that's just what I heard.
No, we're a team, man. Team Jägermeister Yamaha, we work together. We put both boats in the top 5, and another strong weekend for Team Jaeger.
Yeah, and the truth be known, I was on the fish because he showed me where they lived, and just like always.
And he's still being a good friend.
We got to talk about red snappers. Let's go.
Team Jaeger rocks. Anyway, our red snapper bite has rebounded so strong in the Starbright West Central region, thanks to awesome fishery management from FWC and DNR and all the anglers out there. And the good news is, you guys, starting October 1st, the season opens in federal waters, which is only 9 miles out, and we really don't start catching red snappers till you get to about 30 miles out. So October 1st is around the corner, and according to all the guides that I talk to, they're having trouble keeping them off their hook baits while they're grouper fishing. The key to a good red snapper bite in my region is pretty simple. Once you get to your desired depth and you start marking good bottom and ledges and stuff where they hold, which most of the time is, at least 30 miles on out, and a good bottom machine is key, you'll mark the red snapper suspended above the structure, just like that time we went with Chris Seeger last year. Then getting your boat anchored properly is the #1 factor in catching more than one red snapper. You get your boat set right on that stuff, and then start putting down your bait, and it doesn't seem to matter. That day we fished, Rick, I remember we were using dead bait, we were using live bait. It didn't matter, and we caught plenty of them. Remember, folks, the average snapper in my region are 8 to 18 pounds, and a good look at our snapper bite is go to the past Sportsman Adventures and pull up that past episode we shot in the Academy Tackle 35 Contender with Chris Seeger.
All right, Jeffrey, before you go any further in your report, I want to talk about the Navionics from your region. Now, one of our favorite places to fish, obviously, is in Sarasota in the north part of the bay. There's so much bait coming through. That Palmasola Bay area is just so full of fish, as you guys know. Now, guys, understand one generic thing about fishing in Sarasota in the Central West region. As the tide falls, as the tide goes towards the Gulf, the fish are going to follow the shoreline, and they're going to want to stage and get out all along these intercoastal waterways. When the tide comes in, guys, what they'll do is the tide will flood, and as it floods, they're going to actually come right up along the shoreline. So just keep that rule of thumb no matter where you're fishing in that Central West region. Okay, Jeffrey, what do you got for us offshore continuing?
Species 2, sharks, black tips and spinner shark bites going off. And the cool thing is a lot of times it's been in as close as a mile, Rick. So not like you need a big offshore boat to get to it. What you want to look for is the big muds. It'll be clean green water everywhere. You're going to notice some mud. You might notice some birds hovering. Get out there, throw a few chummies out. Make sure your well's full of bait and some cut bait and some chum bags even. Once you get out there and get anchored, usually what will happen, you'll get the jacks fired up, you'll get the mackerels fired up, and then the black tips and the spinners will show up. You can always put down just a dead bait shark rod on the bottom, but also have a pitch rod ready because he's going to swim up to the boat while you're catching mackerels and stuff. And then you can actually sight fish a shark. You can even throw a fly at him. So anyway, pay attention to that. It's been going to go off all the way through October. And it's really a lot of fun, and it's not like you need a big offshore boat to do it. Moving inshore, snook. Our snook season opened with a real strong bite. Lots of fish being caught. Not many as expected in the slot, which a lot of us predicted. Still a good bite nonetheless. To the south, it's hard to beat the Stump Pass and the Gasparilla Pass area on the outgoing tide with freeline live pilchards or pinfish. On the incoming tide, Scott Moore suggests that the snooks are around the bushes and the mangroves in Bull and Turtle Bay. Live freeline pilchards or the new Paul Brown soft dean, which is like the Mirror Miro dean, but it's in a soft version in the greenback pattern, working real well. I have a photo tonight of Joanne Walker of Lakeland, who was fishing with Captain Justin Moore out of Anna Maria with a nice snook she caught. Species 2, mangrove snapper. After talking to many of our guides, as well as a lot of the weekend and recreational anglers, the word on the street is the summertime mangbite is still the best as many moons. The cool thing is that they're all over the grass flats, Rick, like you got them down there in Florida Bay. Not only that, but they're on the seawalls, they're on the bridges, they're on the pilings, they're on the piers. And you don't need big, heavy rods to catch these fish. They're 12 to 16 inches, light tackle, light leader, small hooks. You can even use cut pieces of pilchards or a live pilchard. I suggest trimming his tail off so he'll swim down deep, or, of course, live shrimp. Small split shot if the current's strong. I have a photo tonight of the same lady on the same day, on the same trip. She caught big mangrove snapper with Captain Justin. That's Joanne Walker of Lakeland. And she also caught some keeper gags and redfish that day.
All right, great report, Jeffrey. I'm going to go ahead and get to the Startron hotspots from the Central West region. Inshore, redfish, look for the groups of upper slot oversized reds all over the North Sarasota Bay and South Tampa Bay flats, and the bars feeding on the bait schools during the later part of the incoming and the first of the outgoing tide. And then offshore, gag groupers. Nice gags are holding in the ledges, and the roll-offs in 60 to 80 feet of water off of Venice. Live pinfish are going to be your best bet.
Good report from Jeffrey.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all the boys are doing a great job.
That's right. Right now we're going to look to the La Jolla, Florida Keys with Captain Randy Tao. Randy, it sounds like the red snapper isn't really the most popular guy in your waters.
Hey, fish fans. Good evening. You know, we don't really have a lot of red snappers throughout the Keys, but we do catch a few of them, and they're a lot like a mutton snapper. You know, we catch them in the Islamorada, Upper Keys area on some of the deeper wrecks out in 150 to 300 feet. And one of the key things to these red snappers for our region is they're kind of deeper than most of the snappers you're going to target. But I've caught several over the years right here in Islamorada, not targeting them, but you're fishing for something else, a mutton snapper or a grouper, and you come up with a genuine red snapper. Now, moving on down to Key West, Captain Mike Weinhofer is telling me now they have places down toward the Tortugas and off of Key West and also out in the Gulf of Mexico where they can go target red snappers most of the time. Now, some of the best fishing's in the spring, although they get some pretty good fishing in the fall as well. They're going to go in the deeper water, usually around some of the wrecks or deep ledges, and they're going to fish live bait like a live pilchard, a pinfish, something like that on the bottom. And they do catch red snappers down there, probably more than anywhere in the Keys region, I would say Key West is the hotter spot for red snappers. But here again, it's not something that we catch every day, so it's not like a yellowtail or a grouper. But we do have some pretty good red snapper fishing.
All right, well, what else you got for us offshore?
The yellowtail fishing, I've been talking about it for the last few weeks, and it's only because it's been very good. It's been consistent. We're coming up on a full moon, and just got a feeling after this moon they might slow down on their cooperation for us. So if anybody's wanting to get out and catch some nice yellowtails, most anywhere on the edge of the reef where you've got current, you've got to have some moving water, 50 to 70 feet. Start your chum, wait for them to come up. It's pretty routine right now. If they're there, they'll usually come up fairly quick. And the key to catching these yellowtails is don't overfish them. Don't put 5 or 6 rods in the water at one time and try to catch a bunch of them. Be patient and drift your bait back and hook one and put another bait out, hook another one. Start a little rotation with 1 or 2 rods, and you'll be surprised how quick you can catch your limit.
All right, what you got for me inshore, big man?
Redfish right now, this time of year, it's a hot thing close to Islamorada. A lot of our bonefish flats, believe it or not now, are covered up with redfish. So we've got some redfish close to home. We've got, of course, the good red fishing over toward Flamingo. But depending on the style of fishing you do, some guys like to get up on top of the flat. They've got a technical skip. Some guys have bigger boats like bay boats, so you can't really get shallow. So it's really your timing and the condition that you want to look at for your best fishing. Now, on the lower tides, the guys with the shallow water boats are having some good sight fishing, and also along some of these mangrove islands where the water's down a little bit, these fish are hanging around the islands and you can sight fish for them. And then once the tide gets up, you can fish along some of the deeper shorelines, and you can soak some baits like a pinfish on a hookup or a shrimp on a 1/4 ounce hookup jig. Works really well. But there's also some big schools of redfish too. For some reason this time of year, we'll get some fish that come out of the Gulf, and these fish will be in 100 to 200 in a school. And as you're driving by some of these channels or flats, you're going to notice the wakes and the push of these redfish. So kind of be aware of what you're looking at driving around, because you might just be going by 200 redfish right next to the boat.
You're right about that, Randy. What's your last species, bub?
Snook fishing, one of my favorite things to do. The snook fishing's been pretty good. I've talked to quite a few guys. Now that the season's opened, it's really funny how many people want to go catch a snook to eat and how few guys are catching them in the slot to eat. So it's kind of funny, but they're catching them. The snook bite's been pretty good. You talk to some guys and they're over the limit. You talk to other guys and they're too small. But right around Islamorada on our bay side, we've got some mangrove islands that have some deep channels along the edges of them. Now, when you get the tide and you get the wind going the right way, that's the condition you're looking for, moving water, and some of these snook aren't too far from Islamorada. And then if you're trailering toward Flamingo, certainly all of the area back there has been very good, and some of the shorelines, especially as the tide gets high, a lot of these fish will get back in the shorelines and they'll get under the trees, and you can pole along and just blind cast, or you can stake up on some of the points and you can have some real good snook fishing.
All right, great report from the Florida Keys, La Jolla region. I'm going to go ahead and get a look at the Florida Keys hotspots. Captain Randy says, inshore, redfish, fish the lower part of the tide for your sight fishing, and then as the tide gets higher, fish along the shorelines and mangrove islands with tipped hookup jigs or small live pinfish. And then offshore, button snapper, fish a bait on the bottom with a long leader while you're fishing for yellowtails, or drift out 100 to 200 feet of water. Use live baits like ballyhoos or pinfish for those muttons.
All right now let's take a look and see what tournaments are going on down in the Keys. First up, it's the Women's Fall Fly Classic set for October 1st to the 3rd in Islamorada. It's an all-release fall fly tournament. Species targeted are bonefish, redfish, snook, and tarpon. The Robert James Sales Baybone Celebrity Tournament, scheduled for October 13th through the 16th, I believe, 11th through the 13th in Key Largo, and fundraises for cystic fibrosis research and treatment. The Baybone targets permit and bonefish. Next, it's the Islamorada All-Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship set for October 13th through the 16th. It features prizes for the most releases in bait, artificial, and fly divisions, as well as for the largest bonefish and permit. And lastly, celebrating more than a decade as a charity event, the Casting for Cats Women's Backcountry Tournament, scheduled for October 18th and 19th. This all-release tournament targets bonefish, permit, tarpon, snook, redfish, as well as ladyfish, shark, jacks, and trout. All kinds of stuff going on down there. Woo! Yeah. Right now we're going to check in and hear what else Andy Newman has to add from the Florida Keys. Andy?
And this is the slow season, guys.
Yeah, sure it is.
Staged in Islamorada during the Veterans Day weekend in November, the Cheeca Lodge All-American Backcountry Fishing Tournament focuses on catch and release of 5 different species: snook, redfish, bonefish, tarpon, and permit. Tackle divisions will include fly, artificial, and general, and both individual and team trophies are to be awarded. Now, Rick, you'll recall that last week during Insider's Florida Keys show, we spoke about the passing of George Hommel, the longtime fishing guide who meant so much to the Florida Keys sport fishing community. In his lifetime, George guided many luminaries, including former President George H.W. Bush and baseball great Ted Williams. This year's Cheeca Backcountry Tournament will serve as a fundraiser for the George Hommel Florida Keys Habitat Fund that was recently established by the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust. Now, more details on this and many other tournaments and events can be found on the Florida Keys website. It's FLAKeys.com. Rick, I certainly can't think of a better tribute for George Hommel.
Oh, you're 100% right, Andy. Great work, and we're going to do our best job to help support that.
Andy always brings us so much from
Yes,
down
he
there in the
does.
Keys. Yep. Guys, when we return, we're going to check in with Captain Russell in the Northeast, and we're going to have some new products from the workbench. You know Dave's going to bring you the goods. Stay right where you are.
Wake up, Dave. It's your time, Dave.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by CCA, the voice of recreational anglers for over 25 years. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Hookup Lures, premium lures for serious anglers. La Jolla Resort, a place for family and fishermen. And Maverick Boat Company, makers of premium brand boats. Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Hi, I'm Ariana.
I'm Natalie of the Miami Dolphins cheerleaders for Bennett Auto Supply.
When it comes to spark plugs, look to NGK, the world leader in spark plug technology. NGK makes spark plugs for virtually every automobile, motorcycle, marine, and small engine application.
With NGK spark plugs, you get improved performance and increased fuel economy. So just ask your local technician for NGK spark plugs, the leader in spark plug technology, available at Bennett Auto Supply.
Best parts,
best prices, Bennett Auto Supply.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
Hey, welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report here at the Jägermeister Workbench. Dave, your product, man. Give it to me,
Well,
Superman.
this is a pretty cool thing right here. I saw this and I wanted it immediately. This is a big pickup truck rod holder. This bolts into the back of your pickup truck. This one is actually made for a Chevy.
Oh.
So, yeah, this one's made for a Chevy truck, so I have to go buy the truck to match this. Right?
Need some help with that?
Yeah, exactly.
I know somebody.
This is 8 holders, obviously, if you can count. Black powder coated, really, heavy duty construction. It's got a cam lock on it, so this locks into your truck, so this won't go anywhere. And at the same time, it's got this cable on here, so you can run it through all your rods and reels, through your ring on the bottom, your safety latch.
Right.
now they can't come out of here. So you can
So
go
does it
into the
mount on
go
a-
into the Waffle House and get whatever you want. Yeah,
does it mount,
it mounts in there, kind of like this. This one
Oh,
has
like that. So
correct.
They
So
lay.
they lay flat almost.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
they lay straight down. You know, so they're not straight up in the air.
I like that.
Yeah,
Straight down is really good.
Exactly. They're not straight up in the air. They lay down.
All right.
And they'll go into any other China trucks too. This one's made for a Chevy, but they're made for all kinds. Let's get it out of the way. Next, we got that Colt Sniper.
Speaking of lay down.
Yeah, that's a Colt Sniper from Shimano. This is their new little jig. It's kind of like a butterfly jig. It's got a treble hook on it. You know, really good balance. It comes in like 5 colors. That's the mackerel color. They got a blue and white and a pink and white. You know, if you're going to be snapper jigging, I imagine a red snapper would eat the crap out of that jig. Just about anything would eat
Got
it.
a question for you.
Yeah.
That'll keep it short. Why do they do in grams
they're-
instead of ounces?
Because they're smart over there. They use metric system, and we never freaking learned it.
But
That's why.
Us dummies over here,
Well, 40,
I don't
40
know,
grams
80
is about
grams
40.
is what?
40 grams is about 1.5 ounces.
It's 80 grams.
80
dude.
grams is 2 ounces, and more than actually 80 is 3.5.
Okay, so I'll call you.
Yeah,
Hey,
call me
Dave.
up. But you know they have little converters on TV too, you know, on the internet. Anyway, this is the new marine sharpening station from Chef's Choice. This thing right here, and you know it's electric. It'll run on from the wall or from your car. It comes with both. Also, this thing, you know, it's got little secret compartments everywhere that holds other stuff. You know, this one has watch your thumb. This has a hook sharpener in there too, with all the different heads for
Does
different
this work?
size. Yeah, no, it's got it's battery operated. Didn't put any batteries in it.
Watch yourself.
No, watch out. This thing that comes with 3 different things here. Also, underneath it comes with a scissor sharpener as well. You know, I've never used a scissor sharpener, but this thing, you know, looks pretty impressive to me.
Dang, this thing's got all kinds of
It's got all
things.
kinds of stuff. But anyway, when you're regularly sharpening your knives, you know, one stage to the next. It's pretty cool.
All right, tell me about the Z.
Also, all stainless steel. The Z, these are the new Pogie scented Z-Mans. The good thing about Z-Mans is,
Why
you know,
did
I don't
you
want
do
to touch
that?
these because I know they stink. But look at these things. I mean, they do not break. And so, you know, most of the time I'm just changing out one after the other, which is good for the bait guy, but it's not good for me. But this Z-Man stuff, even though it does stink like Pogies, it really works good. Also, I go to this one tackle store here all the time called Rippy's.
Right
and
down
it's
the street?
right down the street here on
Right off
400
136th
North,
Street.
167th Street. 400 Northeast 167. That's what it says on the thing.
Okay.
But anyway, he's making these. I came in there and I told him about what I was doing one day about the little kings I used to catch little tunas. And I walked in there today, and they're making these little jig heads and selling the little P-lines, skirts to go with them. You could catch a ton of blackfin tunas, yellowfin tunas. Anything will eat that little thing trolling. If you went out to the humps in Islamorada and wanted to catch a blackfin tuna, you put 6 of those out, you'd be buried in tuna fishes.
Good job, man.
Well,
I appreciate it
You're welcome.
very much.
You're welcome. Those things stink.
Lauren, please kindly take the stinkiness of this show and make it sweeter.
I'd be glad. I don't know what just happened. That was like mathematics hour over there. At least you didn't eat anything this time that smelled that bad, because they always send you back over to me. All right, now it's time to fire up the kitchen. We're going to see what's going on with Captain Russell Theron in the Northeast. Russell, you have some nice tips to share on targeting red snapper in your region.
Hey, Lauren, I sure do. How you doing, Rick and Dave? You know, I'm so grateful for our sponsors. You know, I really enjoyed the mini-season that we had for red snapper, you know, just a couple of weeks ago, because I was able to, for the first time, to really use my navionics to get offshore where you don't have any reference points, and be able to use that navionics to get to the structure. And, of course, with my Hummingbird sonar, I'm able to locate that structure and hold on so I can drop down. But I've got a lot to learn, and I'm having a lot of fun. I've talked to Captain Steve Hare, the Ye Old Pirate here in Fernandina Beach, and he said, and he's also targeting the red snapper in 65 to 100 foot of water on the artificial reefs. Now, he's anchoring up current. Now, some of the best locations that we have here off our coast is HH, AH, and FB, and that's just here east of Amelia Island. TW and BR are off the Jacksonville Beach. Now, Captain Steve says you want to use like a 3-way swivel with 6 to 8 ounces to hold the bottom, 3 to 4 feet of 60 to 100-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 7/0 VMC circle hook. Now, before you go out, you want to stop by the Strike Zone Fishing in Jacksonville and pick you up some Boston mackerel and some squid for cut bait. Also, you want to get you some sabiki rigs so you can catch you some cigar minnows and some Spanish sardines for live bait. Typical size red snapper are going anywhere from 8 to 15 pounds in our region. Now, I've got a photo here, a great photo of Ray Taylor with a nice red snapper he caught with Captain Steve aboard the Ye Old Pirate.
All right, Russell,
That's
you're
awesome.
killing me with the Ye Old Pirate. Hey,
That's
tell me what
fabulous.
else is happening offshore.
Wahoo! I talked with Captain Todd Harris. Now, Wahoo, he said that he's the owner of the Huntress out of Jacksonville, and he was very happy to tell me that they've been catching some good numbers of Wahoo on the continental break. Now, Captain Todd said they're catching the Wahoo offshore in 160 to 1,000 foot of water on the tide lines and rips. The Wahoo's bite are coming on the best bite is on the purple and black sea witch lure. Typical size Wahoo run in our region anywhere from 20 to 60 pounds. Now, moving inshore, Rick, I want to tell you about the sea trout because the mullet run is in full swing big time. Late September now through October is the best time of year to throw top water plugs for sea trout, which are one of my favorite things to do. The best action to get the bite is called walk the dog, which makes a clicking sound. You twitch your lure from side to side with short, quick taps from your rod tip. Now, the sound travels faster and longer under the water and will draw and stimulate the strike. Now, look for schools of mullet as they run along the grass lines and near the points, and especially the creek mouths. Use a rapala skitter walk or a storm chug bug, in the mullet pattern. The typical size trout are going anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds. Now, also, too, inshore, I definitely can't leave out the redfish. September is a great month to target redfish in our region, and this weekend we've got a nice, good flood tide. Now, the big flood tide Saturday morning, according to the Mayport Bar Pilot Dot, is at 10:42. Anything that's going to be west of that is going to be a little bit later. The tide will be 1 hour later, on Sunday. Along with the mullet run, you're sure going to want to get out on the water this weekend. Some of the best flooded grass flats to fish are around the Capot Island, Pine Island, Fort George Island, Big Talbot Island, and west of Amelia Island. The best lures to fish for their tailing redfish is a black and gold saltwater assassin and a 5-inch jerkbait. Now, you want to rig that weedless. Now, the fly fishermen, they're going to want to use a Captain Jim Dupree spoon fly. Now, with the flood tide and the mullet run this weekend, you're sure going to want to get on the water. Just watch the weather. Looking like they might be having some weather for Sunday. Typical size redfish can run anywhere from 3 to 6 pounds. Now, I've got a real nice photo of Ashley Hudson. She caught a nice big 31-inch redfish in the North River, just north of St. Augustine, and she was using fingerling mullet for bait. And also, I've got a great report that Tony Yonan caught this 26-pound permit in the surf loaded with 12-pound on Little Talbot Island. Tony was using fresh clams for bait, and Tony had no net. He fought the permit at least for 45 minutes. This is the largest permit caught in the surf that anybody has ever heard of here in Northeast Florida. Congratulations, Tony. You are Northeast Florida's permit man king.
All right, good job, Russell. We're going to go ahead and get to the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. I don't think he's ever going to get there. Inshore, target tailing redfish on the grass flats during the flood tide. Rig a weedless black and gold saltwater assassin jerkbait. And then offshore, wahoo are on the continental break offshore in 160 to 1,000 feet of water. Troll with a black and purple sea witch lure. That's what's going to get those wild.
I mean, is it ever a bad time with Russell?
man.
No. All right. Stay with us. When we return, we're going to check in with the East and the Central East regions. There's plenty more to come right here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy, the Florida Lottery, Best Parts, Best Prices, Bennett Auto Supply, Contender Boats, Performance through Innovation, Navionics. We start where the roads end. And Guy Harvey, artist, explorer, marine scientist, conservationist, and diver.
At highway speeds, things can get pretty windy. That's why the Chevrolet Cruze Eco has active aero grille shutters that close at higher speeds to improve aerodynamics. With an EPA estimated 42 miles per gallon highway, the Chevrolet Cruze Eco offers the best highway fuel economy of any gas engine in America. Always thinking of ways to give you more while using less. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
Continuing the revolution. Faster, drier, even better built. Designed around Yamaha's latest technology outboards. Still built by the same craftsmen and anglers who launched the Bay Boat Revolution. Whether chasing world records, or time on the water with the family, or anything in between, there's a new Pathfinder model for you. Pathfinder, #1 for a reason, still.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
It's 200 streamlined horsepower of Yamaha forward thinking. The all-new F200 inline 4-stroke. Whether you're an offshore angler, pontoon cruiser, bay boater, or walleye hunter, the responsive and fuel-efficient F200 combines amazing power and versatility in one incredibly compact and lightweight package. The all-new F200. Legendary Yamaha reliability and the freedom of forward thinking.
Make sure you check out our Facebook page. We have teamed up with Guy Harvey to give away a fantastic fall prize package. Just head to the page, hit like for your chance to win. The contest is on for only 1 week, so don't waste any time for your chance to win all this cool stuff. You can see right there. Pretty good deal there, Rick.
Yeah, you got Olakai sandals and a reactor watch as a second and third
Ooh,
place prize.
Decent. I like
Yeah,
that.
man.
Now, Rick, the always innovating Yamaha has put out some pretty cool stuff this year, and you got to check some of it out already.
I sure did.
All right, let's have a look.
Helmmaster. Well, we're here at the Yamaha Testing Center, and a new product that also has been being introduced for 2013 is the Helmmaster. Now, let me explain to you what the Helmmaster is. It's a fully integrated boat control system. And what that basically means for you guys that have twins or triple outboards is now you have the ability to be able to steer your boat with a simple joystick. But more importantly, in this system, it comes with a variety of different types of gauges. And in the controls helm here, what you have is also a bunch of different aspects. Now, let's talk about some of those. We have the speed control button. What this speed control button does, guys, is it allows me to have cruise control over my twin or triple engines. By simply touching a button right here in front of the control box, it allows me to get increments in percentages, 15% on the up and 10% on the down. Now, moving over to the next button, we also have the ability to be able to choose a station. If we have an upper station, we have the joystick and we can operate it from up there, as well as trim assist. Now, what this trim assist does is it allows us to have 5 preset systems in our trim ranges. So as we speed up in different RPM ranges, we can preset how the engines trim out. Now, when we come back off of plane, it automatically goes back to the all the way tucked under position. So that's a great part of this Helmmaster control system. One other thing that allows us to do, we have a single lever. I can now use this one single lever, and this one becomes the dead stick. The center engine allows me to operate only the center engine under that, as well as the free throttle. So there's an array of different things in this new Helmmaster, and I gotta tell you, it's going to change the way big boats are being docked and operated. You know, Lauren, it's just a fully integrated boat control system, from gauges to key switches to joysticks to binnacles, all digital, the state-of-the-art, independent steering rams. It's just unbelievable how well it works.
Yeah, it looks very cool. I know all of our techie fish fans just got really excited.
Yeah.
Big time. All right, we're gonna keep moving now. Captain Mike Holliday is in the East region, and Mike, in your area, there's only one direction to head if you want red snapper, right?
That's it. You got to head north. You know, it seems like the best red snapper action in my region is on the northern end, say from St. Lucie Inlet all the way up to Bethel Shoals. The farther north you go, the better it gets. They tend to be more of a deep water fish than the other snappers. And, you know, they're usually found in like 90 to 180 feet of water in my region. So that means places like the 8 Mile Reef and the reef and rock line just inside and south of the closed area, the Occulina Bank, off of Fort Pierce are the targeted spots. You can catch them on just about any bait, cut bait, squid, dead sardines, redfin, cigar minnow. The bigger fish come on live goggle eyes, small blue runners, thread tunes, even an 8 to 10 inch mullet will work. Fish is based on 30 to 80 pound braided line, a 60 pound monofilament leader, and a 7/0 circle hook, and just enough weight to keep contact with the bottom. Average red snapper may reach 8 to 12 pounds, but fish 20 pounds or more pretty regular.
All right, well, what else you got for us offshore, Mike?
Well, easterly winds all last week really stacked up the weeds and pushed them in close to shore, and that kept the dolphin bite going all week. Those fish were spread out from 70 to 1,000 feet of water or more. Consistent pattern was that the fish were on floating weeds or debris, and that made the run and gun technique kind of productive, allowing you to run from one weed line to the next, put out baits when you encounter something that looks good. I talked to Captain John Muskowskis. He had 4 really nice dolphins on fly, and he was just chumming on a weed line with live pilchers on Saturday. So most of the guys are targeting the dolphin either trolling ballyhoo or slow trolling with live Spanish sardines or even live finger mullet right now. Average dolphin right now are 7 to 15 pounds. There's an occasional 25 to 30 pounder in the mix.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go inshore then, big man.
Well, late September and all of October are when the redfish move onto the flats in my region in those big schools. And it's the single best time of year to target these fish on the Sailfish Point flats all the way up to the mooring flats at Vero Beach. Fish was pulled up for the fall spawn. They've got set patterns of movement where you find them, on a particular tide one day, you'll find them on that same tide, the same spot the next day. The Northridge Flats, St. Lucie Village, Harbor Branch, J.C. Park, Queens Cove, all of those have good schools of redfish on them right now. Target fish soft spots like a copper juice colored 4-inch shad, black and gold colored topwater plug. The schools average 100, 200 fish. Most of them are spotted just over the spot. I got a photo there. That Bentley Kimmerer of Sheboygan, Wisconsin, he caught that slot side redfish on a soft plastic on a bass assassin Houdini-colored 4-inch sea shad. So the reds are going on right now. Now the other thing, the cooler temperatures in the mornings and the influx of finger mullet and juvenile pilchards into the river have really ramped up the spotted sea trout action, basically from the Jensen Beach Causeway in the Indian River all the way up to the Round Island Park Flats. The fish are feeding from first light about 10 a.m., 2 to 4 feet of water. Flats on a Little Mud Creek, Keatstone's Bar, Queens Cove, and all the spoil islands close to Fort Pierce produce big numbers of slot and over the slot sea trout right now. The best action takes place end of the incoming tide when the water is super high on those flats and in those around those islands. And so basically just find the bait and you'll find the fish, whether it's schools of finger mullets getting blasted or bows diving around the juvenile pilchers. Work edges of the bait schools with a bass assassin saltwater shad in that new Hammer Time color. It's a deadly color, guys. Hammer Time, Houdini, both those colors are really good right now. You can throw small swimming plugs like the Urzuri Tins Minnow. Average trout right now is going to be 2 to 4 pounds, so trout bite's really hot.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about bass fishing. I know it's been really good.
It has, and the big bass of fall have arrived on Lake Okeechobee. If you can find the last of the shad schools from the summer spawn, you can get in on the action on the big bass. On the north end of Okeechobee, that means the stretch from Chin House Cove to Third Point. There's also been some good fish around Horse Island and Indian Prairie and even on the east wall. You just got to start early. Look for shad flicking on the surface. Cast sky dappers or elite shiners in the Houdini, the Ripper, or the silver fathom colors. Work a white spinnerbait along the edges of the grass. When the morning bites on the shad slows down, find the thickest cover in the area, flip it with a blueberry or a June bug colored pure craw. The average bass right now is 2 to 3 pounds on the shad schools, but a lot of 5 and 6 pounders are being caught, and even some 7 pounders in the mix. And for the occasional guy, take a look at this photo right here. That's Captain Blake Marsaki. out of Okeechobee was just a stud bass that he caught this week, flipping a June bug-colored pure craw on the outside grass line on the east wall.
That Blake Marsaki's a real bass predator. I want to tell you about that.
We can catch them, that's for sure.
That's for sure. All right, great job, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and get to the Bennett Auto Supply hotspots from the East region. Captain Mike says inshore, snook at Palm Beach Spillway, live tilapia, shad or mullet, or big jigs and swimming plugs fished in the moving water. Lots of the fish are short. And then offshore, blackfin tunas in 180 to 260 feet of water from Jupiter to Boynton. Live chum with pilchards or sardines, and 30-pound fluorocarbon leader way behind the boat is going to increase your chances for those tunas, Lauren.
Good tips there. All right, we're going to turn to the CCA Central East with Captain Jim Ross. Captain Jim, earlier this summer there was some pretty cool red snapper action that's pretty worth mentioning.
I'll tell you, we had that 3-day mini season here on the Central East coast a couple of weeks ago, and my CCA region had a fantastic 3-day mini season, as a lot of you anglers already know. We basically, from the entire eastern part of the state, I was talking with FWC biologist Beverly Sauls, we brought in over 1,600 red snapper to the FWC check-in stations for biologists to check and to be able to help with that ongoing effort to collect meaningful scientific data on this extremely important species. Now, most of the anglers that were fishing out of Canaveral caught their fish in 60 to 90 feet of water or out on the 21-fathom ridge. Those were the two hot spots. Live pinfish, pogies, squid, sardines, all the popular bait fish seem to be working, but some of the guys actually chose to use some Williamson vertical jigs and other things of that nature and had a really good success on them. Now, our average red snapper during our 3-day mini season was 12 to 16 pounds, and we had plenty of fish over 20 pounds that came in on those 3 days. And just to kind of give you a highlight of how strong the Central East region was when it came to helping with this FWC collection of the data, we had over 650 of those 1,600 come in just at Port Canaveral.
Wow.
And 265 of those came at the boat ramp, and they didn't even get to check everybody that came in. They were so busy. And 380 more came from the charter boats, head boats, and our Catch a Memory Outdoor Red Snapper Research Tournament. So we were really, really proud about that.
That's
and
awesome.
I've got a nice photo here of Dr. Mines with a nice red snapper that he caught aboard the Brassy Hooker when he was celebrating his 76th birthday. And Brad Spalding, who captains that boat, had a complete limit of red snapper on the board. But pretty cool way to spend your 76th birthday, in my opinion.
Yeah, man.
Fantastic.
God bless him. Hey, let's tell me what else is offshore.
Well, the king mackerel bite's been still pretty good. The live mullet and live pogies are cruising up and down the beach, and of course there's king mackerel chasing them. The 50 to 90 foot depths have been where the fishing has been the strongest, though. So any reef in my region that has bait fish on it can hold the mackerel. If you look at the party grounds, the East 11, Chris Benson, 8A, Pelican Flats, the Pines, Bethel Shoal, all of those typical places are going to have fish on them. The fish are moving around, so all you need to do is, if you're marking bait, put your lines overboard. If you're not marking bait, keep moving until you do. And our average king is running about 10 to 14 pounds, but we're getting fish up into the 20-pound class. Now, inshore has been a lot of fun this week, too. The Spanish mackerel have been going crazy at the inlets and in the surf. In fact, the whole nearshore area, they are splashing and striking on the schools of glass minnows and finger mullet that are in there. And if you guys and gals throw a small silver spoon or a Rapala X-Wrap plug or a hookup bucktail jig that imitates those little glass minnows and finger mullets, in fact, you don't even have to cast them. You can retrieve them or just troll them behind the boat at a fast pace, and you're going to catch Spanish mackerel. Basically, your higher than average rate of speed is what generates the strike, because these guys love to swim fast and love to hit fast-moving objects. So just basically speed everything up and you'll start catching more fish. Now, here's a couple of the things that I really wanted to point out. The Bass Assassin Crappie Dapper. It's a brand new bait that Robin Shiver up at Bass Assassin just came out with. It's a little 2-inch minnow imitation, and it really looks like these little glass minnows. And everything that eats a glass minnow will eat them. Obviously the Spanish mackerel that we've been talking about, but redfish, trout, baby tarpon, anything will slam that little minnow. Now, two of the great colors right now are the Hammer Time color that Mike Holliday was just talking about. That color is fantastic. And the other one that's working really good on our Spanish mackerel right now is called Monkey Milk. Now, you want to take those two colors of that crappie dapper, which is that little 2-inch bait, and put them on a 1/16 or 1/8 ounce hookup jig head, and you're going to catch a lot of Spanish mackerel this week.
Jim, you know what I say about that crappie dapper? I say, oh crap, I don't have any of the crappie dapper, so I couldn't show them on TV. So why don't you tell me about the redfishing?
Well, maybe he'll send you some for next week, but I'm telling you, Rick, those things are working just incredible. It's amazing how good they are. But speaking of incredible and amazing, that's exactly what our giant redfish are doing. They're incredibly slamming our topwater plugs. We're throwing big Rapala X-Rap 13s, the biggest Rapala topwater plug that you can find in the glass ghost or the clown colors, and you're going to get some big redfish right now. Work this thing fast because the schools of redfish are cruising around in the Indian and Banana and Mosquito lagoons, and you can encounter them just about anywhere. And as soon as you start seeing something that looks like jacks crashing the surface, those are the redfish. Those big bulls are working down the flats right now, and they are blowing up anything that even remotely looks like a mullet. Our average redfish is running 18 to 25 pounds, but we've got fish to 40 pounds right now on a regular basis. And here's one that we caught just this week with Matt Willis. That fish was about 26, 27 pounds. Now, his father caught one that was over 40, but the picture didn't come out as good, so I chose to use this one.
All right, great report from the CCA region, Lauren. Just like always, another man hugging a fish. We're going to go ahead and do the hot spots from the Central East region. Inshore, redfish in the Indian River Lagoon cast Rapala X walks and X-Rap lures to the schooling fish roaming the flats near Titusville. And then offshore, tarpon near the bay pods along the beaches. Use live mullet on a VMC 7.0 to 9.0 circle hook.
When we return, we're going to have the Costa Conservation Minute, and we're going to visit with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Don't miss it.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Reactor, the best built performance sports watch, period. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Strike Zone Fishing. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. And Yamaha, reliability starts here.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
You already know about the La Jolla Resort in Islamorada, so let's talk about the La Jolla experience. With an on-site boat ramp, the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic is just minutes away. And when you return from fishing, there's barbecue pits to cook your catch while your family enjoys the pool or one of our new remodeled rooms. This historic resort, the La Jolla, is family-owned and operated and has a friendly staff ready to make your La Jolla experience a really great one.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Today's Costa Conservation Minute is about catch and release tactics. Now guys, everybody who catches a fish wants to take the picture of a fish of a lifetime. Certainly I do. So let's use the example of a bass or a snook. If you want to remove that fish out of the water, what we suggest you do is support that fish's belly and hold the fish in a horizontal fashion. Remember, all the time that he's out of the water, he's breathing air, which is really not necessarily good for him. So get him back into the water quickly as possible. Now when it comes to that snook, take that snook and hold him by the bottom lip and move him in and out in a figure-8 style or fashion, and the water will run across his gills. When he's ready to go, he will release your thumb and be on his way. Now when it comes to sailfish and tarpon, I'd suggest that we leave these fish in the water. If you want to grab the tarpon by the lower jaw and pull his head up out of the water to get a picture, leaving the rest of his body in the water, that's okay to do. Let the water support his weight. Get your picture, remove your hook, and get him back in the water as quickly as possible. Don't use a lip gaff, guys. They're suction feeders, and it'll actually poke a hole in the lower part of their membrane, which will keep them from being able to suck their prey into the back of their throat. These are a couple things that you might want to practice when it comes to catch and release tactics. And that's today's Costa Conservation Minute. You learned something?
Yeah,
you
showed me the little snook thumb trick one time. It's kind of cute, I have to say.
I'm
can
glad
just follow
you liked it.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for tuning in.
You know who else is tuned in? Captain Jimbo Thomas, who's been patiently waiting for us in the southeast region. Jimbo, red snapper have made a little resurgence in recent years around you.
Yes, they have. Well, you know, up until a couple of years ago, catching a red snapper in the southeast region was pretty much unheard of. Well, we do catch plenty of mutton snapper, vermilion, and yellow-eyed snapper, and those are all red, but those are not the true red snappers. And since it's been illegal to keep any true reds caught in Atlantic federal waters for the last 3 or so years, they made a great comeback, and we're seeing them on a much more regular basis. Now, depending on which area of the region you're fishing out of, you might or might not be in federal or state waters. State waters extend 3 miles out from the beach, and federal waters are from 3 miles on out. So if you catch a red snapper from Palm Beach south to Key Biscayne, most likely you're going to be in state waters and you can keep the fish. But as you get south of Key Biscayne, chances are that you're going to be out in the federal waters. You'll have to let that sucker go. Now, I've had my best success catching red snapper around wrecks in the 250 to 300 foot range, and in the wintertime is when we seem to see the most of them, but that's also when we fish on the wrecks the most. And our bait of choice is a live pinfish, but pretty much any other good live bait will work. They'll also eat cut bait, but the fish that we catch on the live baits are usually much bigger, and the few that we see are usually in the 15 to 20 pound range, so they're nice sized fish. Now when we're dropping on the wrecks, we usually use 30 to 50 pound tackle, put enough weight on there to hold the bottom, and use a long 50 to 80 pound mono or fluorocarbon leader and an 8/0 circle hook. We try to fish the bait as close to the bottom without hanging the wreck. When we're dropping on the wrecks, we're not necessarily targeting any one fish. So when that rod bends over, it could be some kind of jack, grouper, or snapper. And every now and then we are surprised with a really nice true red snapper. And they just had a federal red snapper mini season at the end of August, but I didn't hear of anybody in our area actually taking advantage of it, and I know we definitely did not do that. Well, now we got some fish that we are allowed to catch, and the August and September full moons are the best times of the year to target wahoo, and we have that September full moon tonight, I do believe. And in the last week, there's been a fair amount of wahoos caught, and the bite hopefully will continue for 4 or 5 days after the moon. Now, the bulk of the wahoos have been caught from Boca north to Palm Beach, but anywhere that you can find some north current and blue water, the fish should be there. Down here in the Miami area, we've had really green water out to deep. So if it turns blue and gets some current, the fishing should pick up. Now, fishing live baits under the kite or on the drift in 150 to 300 feet of water is where most of the bites are going to come from, and big baits are going to attract the most bites. If you can come up with live well full of pilchards or sardines to live chum with, it'll definitely help attract wahoos as well as any other fish that's been in the area. But we have not been seeing any pilchards down here in Miami. If you don't have any live baits, try trolling a drone spoon, feather and bait, or a sea witch and strip combo on a number 3 planer or a wireline outfit in that same 150 to 300 feet of water at 7 to 10 knots.
Controlling is a great way to locate the fish. You control until you get bites or find a productive depth range, and then put out your live bait. Most of these wahoos have been in the 30-pound range. You never know when a larger one might find your bait. Now, moving inshore, the snook are still schooled up in the inlets to spawn, and after this full moon, they're probably going to go on their merry way, and we'll be left with just the resident snook that we see around, year-round. Now, there's big schools of fish that can be found outside of Lake Worth Inlet and Boynton Inlet, and when the water's clean, you can spot them or mark them on your depth machine. And then as you get further to the south, the fish are there, but they're just not as thick. Now, most everyone that I've talked to has been using live bait, pilchards, pinfish, herring, and croakers, fish near the bottom on either tide, incoming or outgoing, and early in the morning and the evenings is when you're going to get the most bites. Snook have also been running up and down the beaches, and when water is calm and clear, the fish, you can spot them cruising in the trough just off the beach. And if you can find some schools of bait off the beach, those snook will be following them. So look for any bird activity or any other signs of bait. Fish live baits or sardine and pilchard imitating artificials.
All right, Jimbo, we ran out of time, so we'll have to talk about sea trout next week, but I'm going to go ahead and get to the sports grill hotspots from the southeast region. All right, Captain Jimbo says inshore, work the grass beds in North Biscayne Bay with live pilchards, Rapala X-Wraps for a mixed bag of inshore species, and then offshore, fast troll or fish live baits in blue water for September full moon wahoos, just like you reported, Lauren.
Okay, stick around, everybody. We're going to tell you what's coming up next week.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
At highway speeds, things can get pretty windy. That's why the Chevrolet Cruze Eco has active aero grille shutters that close at higher speeds to improve aerodynamics. With an EPA estimated 42 miles per gallon highway, the Chevrolet Cruze Eco offers the best highway fuel economy of any gas engine in America. Always thinking of ways to give you more while using less. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
Hi, I lost a big fish earlier today. Wasn't using suffix. It was about this big.
Look, slow down there, cowboy, okay? A fish in the lost it van, huh? You want your fish. Sorry, honey, that fish is gone.
Always use the best line, Suffix 832.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a fob and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
If you like fishing or the history of fishing, then I have a must-see place for you. The IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame and Museum in Dania Beach. What makes the IGFA so cool is that they have theaters where you can learn about the journey of fishing, galleries where the kids can see antique reels or catch a big one. The Hall of Fame room has over 140 beautiful fish mounts, and maybe in the E.K. Harry Library, you may see a live alligator. For more family fun, go to IGFA.org.
For a huge selection of fishing boats and family cruisers, don't miss the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. Now with an expanded display of boats under 45 feet, plus the latest marine gear, electronics, and everything for the water. 5 days of live music, great food, cocktails, fashion shows, fishing seminars, dive shows, and kids fishing activities. The Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, October 31st through November 4th. Get your tickets early at showmanagement.com.
Next week, our theme is hunting. Make sure to check us out next Thursday, September 26th. You can always catch repeats on Friday and Saturday. Just visit Sun Sports and your local listings for more details. Guys, we got to give a big shout out to the Guy Harvey Hammerheads back there. What a great audience tonight.
Thanks, guys, for being
Thanks for
here.
coming.
We appreciate you very much.
And that rod rack came from boatriggers.com.
Boatriggers.com.
Yeah, because I don't think I said it. Boatriggers.com.
Dave, you did a great job
Well,
this
thank
year.
you.
The few times you were here.
Oh, man,
Just
I don't hear
kidding.
about it.
Man,
When you
had a
bothered to
tough
show.
season.
Yeah, it was tough.
But you know what? Thank you so much for all your hard work. You do a great job. You're a huge part of this love over here at the
Well, I love doing it.
workbench.
It's a lot
You
of fun.
are the Jägermeister workbench. He is,
He
kind of.
is. He is. Polish it. You know, next week, guys, we're going to have hunting. We'll have Gray Drummond in here talking about bow hunting as well as all the different types of hunting that we do in the state of Florida. Very excited about it. All the captains will be actually giving you the reports on where you can become a better hunter in your region. Plus the
See you
fishing
next
as well.
time.